Well, it was a real strong group of a dozen of us that were down harbored in the basement of this building. The first discussion we had was whether or not we'd been banished to the basement, or whether we were there to actually build some sort of foundation that we could create the rest of this enterprise upon. We chose the latter, and we declared success, so here we are. Co-chaired by Tom Sweeney and Sanjay Gorchern, we started off by giving an outline of the paper that's been in draft now for some time. And it was really trying to reconcile issues at a number of different levels. The first is that there's a myriad of different research outputs, everything from papers to biological materials to data to software to things that are patentable, all of which can be protected by intellectual property, or many of them can. And so when somebody wants to throw a cold blanket on a particular project, they say, what about the IP? And we wanted to make sure that the work that we're doing is to try and address the different types of research outputs, and realizing that there's only a small element of that, maybe 2% of what comes out, that's really commercializable, valuable IP, critical to the work that's going to be done, but that we have to create a mechanism that allows for most of the IP to flow freely amongst collaborators, but that IP that has the high value gets appropriate treatment. Layered on top of that is really to understand the jurisdictional differences. Different set of laws, of course, in the United States. Some of these things are very subtle, some of them are far-reaching. And it was very important, we felt, for us to identify the legislative and also the policy issues associated with research funding that led to different treatments of IP so that we could plan accordingly. And then the final thing was just in recognition that the level of IP management, particularly in this country, may not be as good as it could be. So what can we do to actually define better processes so that the IP that does get managed gets managed up to a really high level, which is going to more or less encourage the investment or opportunities to invest in that IP as it moves forward. So those are the three areas that we're trying to cover off. We spent some time going over that in a little bit more detail, but the summary of the comments from the participants, there was a great agreement around the table that there's a strong need for a document of this nature and the clear enunciation of what the issues are, and that's also something that should go not just with a statement of what the problems are, but with a toolkit and a set of pathways that individual groups and projects can start to follow and identify so that they can navigate through the treacherous waters that sometimes flow with intellectual property. So there was a lot of support for that. They thought that the document should be there to educate and to inform, as opposed to be prescriptive in trying to enforce. And that, again, tools and pathways would be an important way to move forward. There was some discussion whether or not elements of good IP management should be a requirement of funding. And should that be something that the sponsors of the individual programs and projects should take on so that they can assure that where there is commercially valuable IP, that it does have a chance to move forward because it was managed appropriately. And I don't think there was quite consensus of whether that would be a term of funding or not, but that was a point that was raised. And finally, there was a great desire now to take the document and the concept and branch out in a little bit more consultation with three different groups. Up to this point, we've not spent much time with our U.S. colleagues, so we want to get a read from them. We want to spend, and thought it was very important to spend some time with the research funders. And so we were quite interested in terms of the financial support going into the Cancer Cell Consortium. And what terms and conditions are they going to put on the intellectual property so that we know, again, that it's managed for the benefit of all of us. And then finally, but not least of which, there was no representation from any of the research tracks at the meeting. And so it's important for us to really engage each of those workshops, those tracks that were discussed elsewhere in the session today, because we really need to be able to bring this down to the things that are important for each of those actual research programs and areas. Next steps is a revised draft and start that consultation process. We got right onto that because we had discussions with Cindy Bell and legal counsel about the Cancer Stem Cell Consortium and some of their actions this afternoon. So more to follow.
Thank you, Angus. I think I can speak for all of us. The summaries from the workshops demonstrate clearly that people are giving a great deal of attention to the issue areas that they're here to represent, that there is a recognition that there is opportunity here, that there is potential, and that we continue to move forward. And I take great encouragement from that and thank all of the workshop representatives here and all of you who participated in those various processes. Thank you.